How much are you generating a year with everything?
It's about 150 million.
Got your girl calling me baby. Wetter than seal in the Navy. Ooh, bitch, I'm Mercedes.
Boys and girls, men and women, welcome back to the channel. Right now, we're about to go meet up with a gentleman by the name of Jamil. Makes $150 million a year. That's $12 million a month.
Money or love is a trade. Oh, for that talking, y'all stay small. Y'all better luck with it.
Crazy, right? Has his own TV show, is the #1 real estate wholesaler in the game in the country. But the most beautiful part about this whole thing is that Jamil, he's not a flashy guy at all. He's humble. So it's not gonna be about the flash and the cash, right? It's about the knowledge that he's gonna give us in this video. What's up in here? Also guys, if you're not happy with your current job at the moment, your current situation, you would really wanna elevate and grow. If you want mentorship from actual millionaires that will literally hop on live Zoom calls with you, click the link in the description below. We will guide you every step of the way to reaching your financial goals and financial freedom. Click that link in the description below, and now let's get the video started. There he is.
How you doing, bro?
How you doing, brother?
I'm doing well, dude.
What happened to your neck,
man,
bro? Come here.
Craziness. I had a health scare not too long ago. I woke up and my whole body was numb.
Wow.
From like my neck down.
Yeah.
And you know, entrepreneurs, you keep pushing. So that whole week I still worked, but I ended up having a doctor appointment. Doctor said you need to go to the ER. They did an MRI, found out my spine was 98% impinged.
Wow.
And they had to go in and do emergency spinal fusion. So
wow.
It was completely out of the blue. I had no idea. My whole life came to a stop.
Yeah.
And I had to, of course, take a few days off, have surgery, but you know, you can't keep an entrepreneur down. So here I am, up and at it.
It's crazy how, like, you know, you're doing all these things in your life and just all of a sudden this can happen. And
it is wild how life will just turn in a matter of seconds, and you don't realize what's going on until you're on the other side of it and you look back and you're like, dude, I almost died.
Yeah. You know? Wow, man.
Yeah.
I mean, because how old are you?
44.
40. Yeah, well, I'm glad you're still here with us, man.
I appreciate that.
It's a blessing that you're still here and everything's okay and you're gonna fully recover, right?
Yes.
100%?
Yeah, I mean, okay, I may not be able to turn my head in like fully anymore. I can't,
anymore?
Yeah, I can't tell really what the range of motion is yet, because when I do take it off, when to shower and whatnot, like that's about as much as I can do on each way.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. I mean, I'm praying for full range of motion, but I'm pretty sure that's not gonna happen. But what I get, I'm happy with. I'm literally just so grateful to be alive.
Yeah, no, we're grateful that you're here, man. Thanks for doing the video still.
Yeah,
like
man.
this is, guys,
you know, there's so much to talk about, and of course this is just real life, right? Like this happens, and I think it's a really clear lesson, at least for me and the people that are in my world, with respect to how hard you push and what you do in life to take care of yourself, to make sure that you're getting, you know, physicals every year. Like, go get things looked at, right? If you feel something funny happen, like, you know, the numbness actually had started about a month earlier, but I hadn't really put my fingers on it. But it was like it was like numb in certain areas, and I just ignored it and I ignored it and I ignored it until it, like, you break. And you know, I just lost a friend this year to cancer.
I'm sorry.
Rest in peace, Jessie Lee. She's no longer with us. She's an incredible woman. And, you know, she went and got an MRI just to get checked out. And she finds out she's got stage 4 cancer. And a few months later, she was dead, you know?
So pay attention to the signs. Yeah, guys, pay attention.
Listen to your body. Pain is there for a reason. You know, it's not there to be masked. It's there to be looked at.
Yeah. Good thing you checked. I mean, you did. I did all the wrong things. I even tried to postpone the surgery. I was negotiating with the surgeon, but that's how effed up you can be in the mind about pushing and going, and you know, grind culture is so real it overtakes common sense sometimes. Yeah, that is true.
And I saw me suspend reality in my mind of like what's happening in my world, so that I could continue working and pushing. But ultimately, if I'm not here to receive the benefit of it, then what was the point?
Yeah, that is true.
You know, I got kids. I can't do that. Welcome to Venice Beach. I mean, I'm right on the cusp of Venice and Marina del Rey here on the water. We're at Oceanfront Walk here. It's a beautiful place. It's my second home. I don't primarily live here in LA. I'm in Phoenix, Arizona as my home base. Well, come on in. Let me show you around.
Before we get the tour, you know, and I do want to pick your brain a little more. Explain to the viewers, who are you exactly? What do you do?
So I'm Jamil Damji.
I I just put a body kit, forged carbon.
I am a real estate investor. Wholesaling real estate is my niche. So, are you familiar with what wholesaling is?
I am, yes.
Yeah. So, I'm the largest in the country at wholesaling. I've got a nationally franchised operation. I'm in over 100 markets.
Nice.
We've got across all of our companies over 700 employees.
Wow.
It's a big operation. If you're ever out in Phoenix, Arizona, I'd love to show it to you. But I made my name in the business just starting and going, and I've been in it for over 2 decades. I've taught thousands of people how to do what I do in my coaching community, Astro Flipping. In addition to that, I'm on a television show with my best friend, Pace Morby.
Okay.
Called Triple Digit Flip on A&E.
Okay, look that up, guys, if you haven't seen it. Yeah.
We pointed a lot of tiles and fixtures and just the regular house porn stuff that people like to watch.
So we got a TV star here,
Something like that.
We got a superstar.
Yeah.
Now with everything combined, right? Just everyone loves to hear numbers.
Sure.
How much are you generating a year with everything?
Yeah, so over all of the companies, about 150 million.
150 mil. Yeah. This guy's the real deal, man.
Tell me I'm someone you want. You tell me I'm something you need.
Welcome to the spot.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that's Bobby. That's my road dog.
What up, man?
I always had a dream to have a house on the water.
Okay.
And it was on my vision board. I'm one of those corny people with a vision board, but mine's right in front of my toilet, so I can kill 2 birds with 1 stone in the morning.
Yeah, for sure.
I stare at what I want, and then I do my business, and then I'm out. But a beach house was always something that I had a deep desire for. A couple of years ago, I decided to purchase it. So I come out here, every month or every few weeks, just for the weekend or a few days, and decompress.
Yeah. How much does this house cost?
I paid $2 million for it.
$2 million.
Yeah. Today I think you can't get anything on the water now under like 2.6, 2.7. So I did okay. Yeah. But I'm a wholesaler. My job is finding deals.
Yeah.
Right?
No,
so,
for sure. This is great.
I actually got this from a woman who was she was like a B movie actress. She was in a lot of Steven Seagal movies and Van Damme movies.
Okay, the animation?
No, like those really like straight to DVD style movies. They're so bad you don't even know if there was a script. It's cozy, it's cool. Cute little kitchen, open concept over here. I love that it's got 3 beds and 3 baths, which is rare for the area, but this is just one of the rooms. I make Bobby stay in this one when he comes because it's pink.
Okay, that's funny.
Any chance I get to emasculate him, I'll take. Here's the other bed here.
Okay.
Cute. I had my the person who does our design for our television show come out here and actually design this for me. So
nice. It feels like a model home.
Yeah, that's the kind of the reason for it being a little sterile, because it's like literally a set designer designed it, but this is it. Yeah. This is the primary bedroom. It's got a little ensuite over here, and it's cool. It's cozy, but for the water, you don't get a lot of house out here.
Yeah, no, for sure. This is a beautiful home, though. Yeah, I love it. All right, Mr. Jamil, thank you for the tour.
Of course,
appreciate it. What's your ethnicity?
I'm Indian.
Indian. Okay, yeah, that's kind of cool because I'm also part Indian.
Yeah,
Bangladeshi, my dad's side. Yeah, so. We're like family.
Yeah, all Indians are related.
Right? And I know we got some, I think we got some Indians and people from Bangladesh watching this channel too.
What's up?
Yeah.
As a young kid, I moved to Canada, which is where I grew up.
Okay, so you grew up in Canada.
Yes.
What part of Canada?
Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Yeah.
Okay, and how old were you at this time?
I was 4.
4, and you grew up there till 4 till when?
Till 30.
30.
I actually celebrated my 30th birthday the week I moved to Los Angeles. So 26 years there.
Kind of talk about your upbringing. Your businesses generate 150 million, 150 million a year. So talk about the startup, how you came up.
I grew up in a very working class, very lower middle class family. Yeah. My parents are incredible people. My dad worked at a car wash, and he owned it with his brothers. And my mother was a data entry operator, so she essentially inputted data for banks on people's checks.
Yeah.
And they worked 10 to 12 hours a day. I was a latchkey kid, so I basically got myself to and from school. My sister pretty much raised me, who I'm in business with today. So we're the closest of friends. It was very, very, very humble beginnings. I grew up in an area where there was a lot of tension, a lot of violence growing up. I was surrounded by tense, violent people, And I'm very lucky to have escaped a completely different fate that I could have had growing up there. And I know a lot of people who have not escaped it, people in prison, people who passed away. Just a lot of economic hardship, and then couple that with a lack of education and a lack of hope, and you get some really intense situations. And I'm grateful to have been able to transcend that.
So when you talk about you said you're surrounded by violence.
Yeah, it was I know people wouldn't think like, Canada really, but there's a hood in every city, right?
Yeah.
In Canada, in Calgary specifically, the northeast quadrant of the city is very ethnic now, but there's a lot of Asian gangs there, Indian gangs there, and the drug trade is very live. And because of that, where you have economics, there's territory and there's violence that comes with it. And the people that I was around growing up were all looking for ways to get out of the financial situations that we're in, right? And so I was just surrounded by it. My friends were, either participatory or, it was very hard for me not to always be surrounded by people in that world.
Did you ever get in trouble yourself?
I did. Yeah.
Were you ever in a situation where you maybe, was it like selling drugs too? Is that part of it?
There was of course there was times in my life where that was a reality. I wasn't good at it.
Yeah.
So
hey, at least you're being honest.
I mean, I wasn't, right? I lost more than I got, right? And I realized very quickly that wasn't meant for me.
Yeah.
Right? I was either going to find myself robbed, or I was going to find myself in prison.
Yeah.
Or killed.
Yeah.
And I had to find another way. And so, I have a science degree. I went to university, got a degree in physiology.
Oh, wow. There you go.
My goal was to be a doctor. As an Indian, that's literally the path that our parents pay for us, right?
That's true. Yeah.
It's like my dad was like, you be a doctor or don't come home.
Yeah,
right?
That's how it is in an Indian household. They're super strict.
Yeah. All of my cousins are doctors.
Yeah.
I'm the only one. I'm the black sheep.
But you make more than a doctor now.
I do. I do. And
blessings.
I'm very grateful for that. But I didn't get into medical school, which was a real eye-opener for me, because even though I had the grades, even though my test scores for the entrance exam were high, I didn't do well in an interview, and I wasn't admitted. And when you get that kind of life-altering decision made by somebody else, which is what I essentially realized was happening to me, I was devastated. And I said to myself, I'm never going to let another human being decide what happens to me ever again.
Yeah.
And that's when I decided entrepreneurship was the way for me to go.
So when you didn't get accepted to medical school, how old were you at this time? Was this like
in my 20s? 22.
22, okay. Yeah. At this time, this is when you decided, okay, I'm entrepreneurship. But like,
correct.
But what in entrepreneurship?
Yeah, so there was an opportunity. So a friend of mine introduced me to this company that was very early in website development. So this is like early 2000s, think about it, right? The internet was brand new.
Yeah.
And people really hadn't believed in it yet, because there wasn't a lot of proof of concept, and businesses were still using the yellow pages to advertise.
Yeah, that's
in fact,
crazy. Yeah.
My job was, I had the yellow pages, and my job was to call businesses in the yellow pages as in my first entrepreneurial journey. Because this company was failing, right? This media company was failing. They couldn't find clients to build websites for. And a friend of mine knew that I was a really good salesperson and said, you got to meet these folks, because their company is dying and they need you. So I went in and I showed them what I could do. In a week, I sold more websites than they had sold that entire quarter in a week. And so immediately I understood my leverage, and I said to them, I'll come on, but I want half the company, because you guys are already in a negative here. If I'm going to come and dedicate myself to doing this, I really want a stake. And they had nothing to lose, because it was either close the doors in a couple of months or we give this guy half.
That's actually producing for us.
That's producing, right? So they gave me half. But what was interesting is these guys were such bad business people that none of them knew how much it actually cost them to build a website. So here I am on the phone talking to these companies saying, buy this website for $600. It was a 6-page website, $600. but it cost us $700 to make.
Yeah, wow.
And so I was so good at my job that we ultimately ended up having to close anyways because I was literally putting us out of business.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
so
Wow.
yeah.
So so you're 22 at this time?
Yeah, 22, and I'm in the media business, but I'm in proximity to somebody who's in real estate at this time.
Okay.
And I'm listening to him and his father have a conversation about this duplex they're building, and they're about to make $160,000 on it. And I'm just floored at that. I think $160,000. How do I get in? So I interject myself into this conversation, and I'm just asking questions like, what are you guys talking about? How do I do this? And they were really dismissive with me in the beginning because they didn't see how I could add value to them, right?
Yeah.
I didn't have good credit. I didn't have any money. I had no real estate license. So how was I supposed to get involved? And as I continued listening, I heard that they had a problem. Their biggest problem was finding houses to tear down so that they could build these luxury duplexes.
Yeah,
that was the hardest piece. And so then I asked, okay, well, what if I find you one of those houses? And they're like, if you can find us one of these houses, we'll buy them, right?
Yeah.
Like all day. So the gears start turning, and the next day I'm walking my dog, and I walk by a house that's for rent. Oddly enough, I had tried to rent the house 3 months earlier, but it was $200 a month too much for me. So that just kind of tells you where I was financially in my life. $200 a month decided where I lived, right?
Wow.
So I call her and I said, hey, your house is for rent, and I've noticed it's been for rent for a few months now, and you're not able to rent it. You think maybe you would sell it instead of renting it? Her answer was, well, if the price was right, yes. I asked, how much is that? She says, $350,000. Thank you. So I rush to the office and I get to the conversation with my partner at the time, and I asked what his dad would pay for this house. I gave him the address and whatnot. He looked it up and he's like, oh, we'd pay $400,000 for this all day.
Wow.
And so right there, I have a $50,000 problem to solve, right? Because I don't have $350,000 to buy the house, but I do know that I can sell the house for $400,000 if I can buy the house for $350,000. So what do I do, right?
Yeah.
And I call family. I start calling uncles and aunts and seeing if anyone would loan me money, if anyone had like a line of credit or something that I could use to purchase the house. I didn't need to hold the money for very long, just long enough to be able to sell it, right?
Okay.
Nobody wanted to take a chance on me. Everyone was just like, you're the guy who didn't get into medical school.
Yeah.
I think we'll pass, right? So all of that being said, I lead myself back to what I know, which is get to the phone book. So I start calling lawyers. And I get all the way to the letter S, and a gentleman by the name of David Steed. I'll never forget this guy. He changed my life. Picked up the phone. Most attorneys don't answer their phones, right? They always have like a gatekeeper or a secretary. But this guy was fresh out of law school. He didn't even have an ad in the Yellow Pages. It was just his name and number, right? So I'm talking to him and I'm telling him what is going on, and he's like, "Oh, that's easy." I'm like, well, what do you mean it's easy? What do you do? He's like, what you're doing or trying to do is called a skip transfer. That was what he called it. So I'm like, a skip transfer, okay. He says, this is where you're going to get the property that you're trying to buy under contract, and you're going to have it locked up now. You're going to have what they call equitable interest in the house, right? So now that you have the right to buy this house, what you're going to do is you're going to sell that right to buy the house to the person who wants to buy the house, but you're going to take a fee for doing that. And the way that you do this is with two contracts. One is the contract where you buy the house, and the second is the contract where you sell the house. And everything has to line up on that document. They have to be practically identical except for the names. On the first contract, I'm the buyer. On the second contract, I'm the seller.
Yeah.
That's it.
This is wholesaling.
This is wholesaling, right?
Yeah.
He called it skip transfer. I had no idea. Internet wasn't even a thing then, so there wasn't any gurus or anyone teaching this. Like, that literally was uncharted territory. I thought I invented wholesaling. I'm not kidding you. Like, I truly thought I invented it at that time, right? Because no one was doing this. So the attorney says to me, once you get all these things figured out, I'm going to email you the documents, print them out and get them signed and all that.
Okay.
Once you get this figured out, bring these documents over to my office, and I'm going to do the processing. It's called conveyancing. I'm going to look at the titles. I'm going to see if there's a mortgage. I'm going to get all that information, figure out who needs to get paid. And then once that's all completed, the deal will be done. And I'll have a check for you. And my head was like exploding then. I'm like, that's all? Like, this is all I have to do.
Yeah. How much did he get out of it?
He got a few grand, right? So a couple of weeks later, there I am, and I'm holding a $47,000 and change bank draft.
Yeah.
And like, my hands are shaking, right? Because I had never seen money like that before.
Yeah, that's great.
You know, I was so scared to cash that bank draft. I held it in my wallet for like 4 months.
For real?
Yeah, man, because I didn't know, right?
Yeah,
and my friends were like, hey, dude, you got to cash that because they expire in 6 months. Like, you got to really go cash that. So I did, but, you know, that's where my mind was, right? But as soon as I figured out that hack, brother, I was off.
Wow, okay. So that first $47,000 check, that was, how old were you, 20?
Early 20s, like I'm 23, 22,
okay,
23
so young,
at this point.
Huh?
Yeah.
Wow, okay, so ever since then, you just started racking it up, just finding deals, and then...
Well, yeah, there's always a
significant
act two,
moment. Yeah,
right?
yeah. What was the act two? What was
a couple of things happened. So I start doing really well.
And you're still in Canada, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I get to a point where I've made millions now, right?
Okay.
And it's all cash. I don't have to, I mean, not real paper cash, but it's in the bank, right? Liquid money. And I'm not doing any fix and flips. I'm not doing anything that's like risky, right? Because everything is arbitrage, essentially, right? But this developer, I moved from houses to apartment buildings because I realized that the same amount of work that goes into buying and selling a house is the same amount of work that goes into buying and selling an apartment building. Same contract, same everything. It's literally the same thing. But I could make $100,000 every single time I flipped an apartment building, and the buyers wouldn't even like balk at it. Eventually, the single family homes that I was wholesaling, the guys were getting hip to how much I was making on every house, and so they were beating me down and beating my numbers down, right? So I went from $50,000 to like all of a sudden they're like I'm like barely scraping 10 out of a deal. But the developers who are doing these apartment buildings, they're happy to pay me $100,000 for a building because they're making millions on these, right?
Yeah.
Well, there was a day where I'm meeting one of the guys who's buying a building from me, and this guy was bald and dumpy, and he was just like, he was really, really homely. And he pulls up in a Rolls Royce, and he's got the most beautiful woman in his car. And I looked at that situation and I thought, okay. And I mean, it's a young man's mentality, right?
Yeah.
I said, I want that. I want what he's doing, right? So I go on the next 4 buildings that I put under contract, I close on them. But I don't have good credit, so I have to get my mom and dad to co-sign the construction loans for me. And all the cash that I had saved up on all the deals I had done were now down payments on the buildings that I had purchased. So I'm leveraged. And then 2008 hits.
Damn.
We lose everything. And because I roped my parents into the situation, I lose their everything.
Wow.
And there's a moment where I had purchased, prior to this, I had purchased myself a house on top of the hill in Calgary overlooking the city. I bought my mom a house on a lake. Like, son did it, right? Her boy did it, right?
Yeah.
And for Mother's Day, my sister and I gave my mom a lake house.
Yeah.
And so there was a moment where everything got taken away. The cars, the homes, and it was my mom, my dad, my sister, my niece, me, our 150-pound dog, and our cat living in a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment.
Wow.
That's what I had done to us.
Yeah.
And it was heartbreaking, bro. It was like the saddest, worst feeling that you could ever have in your life.
Yeah.
But I had a resolve at that point. I had to come back, right? So, now real estate had kind of burnt me. I was just mentally shaken by it, all of it. It was a lot of trauma. So I decided to move to Los Angeles and become a comedian.
Really?
That's not a joke.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
Your face is just like,
okay. That's
all
surprising.
right, dude.
Okay.
Indian comedian? All right. But no, that's what I did. I came out here and I was doing the open mics, and I was doing a lot of sketch comedy, and I was doing all right at it. I mean, I wouldn't say that I'm, not funny, but I'm not Kevin Hart funny.
Yeah.
But the thing about comedy is that you really can't support yourself in the entertainment world until you're really popping, right? And so here I am in Los Angeles. It's hard to live here. It's expensive. I had just gotten engaged, and
so you're in your
I'm in my early 30s.
Early
now.
30s.
Yeah.
How much do you have in liquid at this moment?
Nothing.
So nothing.
Nothing.
You're trying to be a comedian. You just got engaged.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
And I'm like, I gotta do something, right? And what's really funny is that at this time now, real estate's starting to pique my interest again, and I'm reading a lot of things, and all of a sudden I'm looking at Phoenix. You know, I'm in LA, but I'm looking at Phoenix because at that time the market had dropped so low, right, that you could buy a condominium that was once $400,000 for like 25 grand, and they would rent for $850 a month.
Yeah.
So now my sister, she's in Canada still, right? I'm alone here in LA. My sister's in Canada. My sister's busting her back. She's trying to rebuild, right? She's working in a couple of buildings. She now secured a couple of buildings that, you know, that the family now had owned, and she was working really hard to like establish those, and she turned them into sober living. And she took that situation and was able to basically save our whole situation, because I was making nothing.
Yeah. Wow.
My sister, she basically brought us back to life. So her hustle while I was in LA becoming a comedian, she was able to get together 900 grand from her hustle that she was doing in Canada still. And so we now have our eyes on Phoenix as an opportunity for us to purchase real estate that we could then rent out, because I'm here in the States and I can get to Phoenix pretty easy from LA. And so it made sense for us to start getting involved again. And at that time, you couldn't just buy real estate on the MLS. Mostly everything was foreclosures and short sales.
I see.
This is like right out of the financial collapse. And so, and for anybody who's watching that ever been involved in a short sale, it's a process. It's not the same as buying a house. Like, you got to make submissions to the bank, and it's a whole negotiation, and you never know what price the house will get approved at from the bank. You don't know if they'll even take your offer. It's like you're literally throwing spaghetti at the wall, right? It's random. And so you're writing a lot more offers than you're being able to take properties down, because barely anything gets approved. Well, there was a situation where I had 2 properties that I had submitted offers for that got approved by the bank, but I didn't have the money to close. But remember, I have the skill, right? The skip transfer thing that I was doing in Canada.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, well, maybe I can do that again. So I get these 2 approved contracts. I go onto Craigslist and I write an ad. And I say, I have some contracts available for sale. These are the addresses. Bro, 15 minutes, man. My phone rings. This guy by the name of Tim Wynn.
Yeah.
Another man, another name I'll never forget, calls me up and he says, hey, I'm going to drive by these houses, but I like them. Calls me right back, says, I'll take them. And I'd marked each contract up 10 grand. So I'm over here in LA, like literally telling terrible jokes for no money.
Yeah, and then you have this
and I have this like $20,000 payday that happens in like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's all signs lead to Phoenix, right? So I do the thing that was really hard. I give up my dreams of fame and fortune here in Los Angeles, and I pack up a U-Haul. It was my birthday. It was 12/12/12. I'm driving down the 10 freeway from LA to Phoenix, crying because I'm so sad that I'm leaving everything behind. But I have this hope in my heart that something's going to change. Yeah. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me.
No, for sure.
I get to Phoenix and my life exploded.
Yeah. Now, how did you get to that, like, because 10, 20, 30, 40 mil, is it all wholesale real estate?
A good portion of my income is coming from wholesaling. So Keeg Lee is the wholesale operation that I founded.
So you started a company. Correct. And you have wholesalers that work with you. Correct. Gotcha.
And and so we have Keeg Lees all across the country now. Okay. They're franchise locations though. So in every major city there's a Keeg Lee.
Okay. Yeah. So how did you start that exactly? So like, how old were you? When did you start it?
Yeah. So that started in 2016. Okay. And I'm in Phoenix, Arizona now. I'm starting to make a name for myself locally as a guy who gets stuff done, right? I'm just a mover and shaker, and people are starting to talk about me in the investing space because they're like, oh, that Jamil guy, he gets a lot of good deals, right? Yeah. And so they're and the wholesalers are talking to each other and like, who the hell is this Jamil guy, man? Like, everybody's buying stuff off him. Yeah. And I had this like interesting marketing strategy where I said to people, hey, look, I'll do business with you, but do me a favor. Don't tell people who I am. And they were like, why? I'm like, because I like to stay in the shadows and I don't want anybody to know me. But I actually knew that was a way to get people to actually talk about you. Is the way to get someone to do something is tell them not to do it. And so the more I told people not to talk about me, the more they talked about me. And it was wild, right? And so you know, I'll never forget it. I'm at this guy's house where we're packing sandwiches for homeless people. We're gonna go do a thing in downtown Phoenix where we're gonna give out some PB&Js, some water. It gets hot in the summer, and we wanted our kids there to be with us to kind of show them what, you know, life can look like, and, you know, don't do drugs and stay in school kind of deal, right? So I'm at this sandwich packing party, and these two kids, they're young men, they walk up to me, and one guy's like, hey, you're that Jamil guy, right? Yeah. He says, well, my name is Josiah. You know, he's like, he doesn't look like he's older than 16 years old, right? Yeah. And he said, I hear about you, you know, I don't know how the hell you're doing all these deals, but like, you got a really great reputation. I'd love to work with you one day if possible. And you know, at the time, and I was doing a lot of JVs, that's like where you wholesale a house. And I would typically be the guy who would go out and get the deal under contract, and then I would sell my contract using a disposition service, right? Okay. And so my dispo guy, he is a little older than I am, and he's in that phase of his life where he was starting to really enjoy his money. And so he would constantly be out on a yacht in Florida or in the Bahamas or something, but he would never tell me when he was leaving town. It would like drive me nuts, right? Yeah. And so this is who I'm using for dispositions at the time. And this young man comes up and says, hey, I'm really good at dispo. If you've ever got a deal, give me a shot. I'd love to try to sell it for you. But I was kind of in an exclusive situation, so I'm like, I'm good though, but give me your number just in case, you know, I'm happy to try you out if the opportunity ever arises. Well, that week, the guy I'm working with decides to go to the Bahamas and not tell me. Yeah. And so I'm pissed off, right? Because I'm trying to call him. His phone's like going to nothing. He's not answering anything. He's like gone. And then his brother calls me. He's like, oh, Chris didn't tell you? He's in the Bahamas again. I'm like, awesome. Yeah. So I called Josiah. And I'm like, hey, you said you wanted to work with me? Here's your shot. So I give him a house. Give him a contract. Okay. And it's his time to perform, right? Right. So he does. He gets that thing sold for me in a half an hour. I'd never seen something get done like that, right? Wow, yeah. So he sells that deal in a half an hour, and I'm like, oh, that was really good. I have another one. And I give him another one, and like 15 minutes later, he sells it. And I'm like, what are these guys doing, right? Like, that's so fast, right? How many buyers you got? Come to find out that him and this other younger guy, Hunter, they're really good at like systems and technology and building lists and leveraging CRMs, all things that this dinosaur knows nothing about, right? Yeah. I'm a pen and paper kind of dude. I'm a handshake guy. I'm 44, right? So we start loosely working together more and more and more, and ultimately at the end of the year, I have this idea where I want to do what we're doing, but I want to do it nationally. I want to wholesale across the country. Okay. So I take this idea to Chris, the guy that I was always working with, and he's like, I don't think I have the energy for that, bro. Like, that's all you. And I'm like, okay. So then I go to the two kids, and I'm like, hey, you want to do this with me? I want to try scaling this and blowing this up nationally, and I need help. I can't do this alone. And they were all for it. Yeah, they had that. They were all for it. What an opportunity. It was. Yeah. And I funded the company with $1 million. Okay. I brought $1 million to the table. I said, look, I'll bring $1 million so that we have money to close the houses and do the things that we need to do. You guys got to bring the energy and the minds that you have, because I have no clue what the hell you're doing, but it's working. Yeah. And so they said, you keep going out there and getting contracts, we'll keep selling them, and we'll build. And we started in a coffee shop. We legit started in a coffee shop. And we went from a coffee shop to my partner's living room to where the HOA kicked us out of the neighborhood because there were too many cars parked out there. That's funny. Yeah. To like getting a little, we had this little office, we called it the foot fish office, because the neighbor, it smelled so bad in there. It smelled so bad, it smelled like either feet or fish at any given time, right? Yeah. And the neighbor would cook these fish dishes and it would come through the ducting. It was terrible, right? But today we have over 200 employees. Wow. Our office is, 20 or 30,000 square feet. When you're ever in Phoenix, I'd love to show it to you. Oh, yeah, for sure. We got to make that. It's bananas. It's a really incredible operation. Still, when I walk in there, I'm like, I can't believe this is mine. That's so cool. That's a great story for sure. Now, I know you gave up comedy for this, but then you also got back into entertainment.
So how did you get the TV show?
You know what, dude? It's funny how life finds itself in full circles all the time,
that is
right?
true.
God loves to close a loop.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And my friend Pace Morby, who you got to meet him. A phenomenal guy, just like one of the best in the world. So him and I are competitors, but we're collaborating a lot, right? He had just come out of a difficult situation, and he was building up his real estate business. And I'm known as a really good person to talk to when you want to find out how much a house is worth. Like, I'm the best in the country at valuing property, and quickly. And so he would typically send me an address and say, hey, how much should I buy this house for? And I would tell him, and then he would lock it up, and then he would JV the deal with me, so we'd split any upside, right?
I see, okay.
So I'd help him, and he'd help me, and it was, scratchy, right? We're scratching each other's back. Life is good. There was one deal where I was chasing this property with a wholesaler, and he sends me a text message, and he's like, dude, I don't know what's going on, man, but this some SOB keeps bidding me up on this property. How much do you think I can offer for this? And I'm like, I'm that SOB.
That's funny.
And so I'm like literally bidding against myself. So he just says, Jamil, why don't you stop? I'll take this one down and we'll JV on it, right? And I'm like, cool. So I pull out my offer, and then he ends up buying the place. And the day he takes the key, he says, meet me out there. We're going to do a YouTube video. And so Bobby was there. Bobby shot it. And we shoot this YouTube. We put it up on our Instagram stories. We're like, hey, we're going to do a walkthrough on a house that we just bought to fix and flip. If you guys want to come hang out. This is the address. Like 60 people show up, right?
Okay.
So we got this this whole band of misfits walking through this cop's house. It was a cop who had passed away. And it was a hoarder situation. Like, it was really, really intense in this house. But it was fun and funny, and Bobby's really good at edits and all the things, right? So we're walking through this house and just being ourselves, and it goes up on Pace's YouTube channel. And lo and behold, we start getting emails from a production company.
Oh, wow.
And they said, we saw your guys' content, and that's what we need. We need you guys. Like, we're so tired of these bland, very vanilla, perfect Ralph Lauren looking, family
stuff,
couples that are like, ooh, look at her, look at him. Like, it's like, you guys are edgy, you guys are fun. We would love to meet you. But of course, people email you with all kinds of craziness, right?
Yeah.
And so we don't believe it right out the gate. In fact, I'm just straight up ignoring them.
Yeah.
They're emailing me, and I'm just hitting delete every time.
Was the channel?
The production company was emailing us.
Yeah, but with the YouTube channel, did you guys have a following? Or
yeah, it wasn't. I mean, Pace had been ahead of, Pace had already been doing social media for quite some time.
Okay.
I was pretty much invisible on social media at the time. I had a little bit of a following, but I was still very early in the stages.
Okay.
To put it this way, my profile picture on Instagram for about 5 years was an owl.
Yeah.
Okay,
you're one of those.
I'm one of those dudes, right? And so, not because I'm talking smack or being a weirdo on the internet. It's just I didn't understand, right? Like, I didn't know how important building a brand and social media is until now, and but Pace's channel was doing pretty good, and so they seen it on his channel, and we end up on this Zoom meeting, and I'm Googling the names of the person I'm talking to while we're on the thing. It's like the executive vice president at Unscripted at A&E. I'm like, all right, what's up? You know?
Yeah.
And so it was really just serendipitous. The production company says, we never do this, but you guys are so good. We love everything about your energy. We love what you guys do. We're going to go write the series.
That's so
They didn't even shoot a pilot with us.
Wow.
10 episode order, and away we went. A few months later, there was production vans and RVs and all these things out in front of our houses, and there we are making a TV show. And so
God is good.
God is good.
Yeah. Wow.
Nice. So we did 2 seasons of Triple Digit Flip.
Okay.
But now Pace and I are going to do a new show that's going to be a lot more in line with what we really do on a day-to-day basis.
Into the TV show, analytics and whatnot. How lucrative is having your own TV show? Is it?
Well, in which way?
How many people have to watch you guys? How do the metrics work?
Yeah. So great question. I mean, we were a top 50 cable show.
Okay.
So
Like, how many viewers do you guys get?
I would say that an episode could probably be seen by 500,000 people.
Okay.
And that's not including reruns. So just on the premiere day, about 500,000. Now, that's not prime time, right? We were a Saturday at noon show.
I see.
Right? That all their home improvement goes onto one block called, I think it's called Homemade Nation.
Okay.
And so that's their Saturday afternoon block. Prime time could have been millions. Like, for instance, one of my really good friends is Tariq Al Musa. He has a television show with his wife Heather, and they're on HGTV. They'll get a couple million eyeballs on an episode of their show, right? But HGTV is all house. It's all, the entire network is housing, right? So, it's a little bit of a different situation there. But I'd say about 500,000 for an episode on the premiere, and then they do sell us internationally, and they do rerun a lot. So overall, you might be looking at 1 million views in its entirety, streaming
per episode. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what does that translate to in terms of like are you allowed to talk about A&E's, like how much they get paid from it?
I don't know a lot about how much they make. Yeah, it's interesting because you don't really get into the back end on your first TV deals.
Yeah.
If you've ever talked to any reality TV person, your first deal is terrible. That's why the season 3 renegotiation is industry standard, right?
Yeah.
Because once you're done 2 seasons, you've proven yourself. You've proven that advertisers like you. You've proven that the viewers like you, that you can hold an audience, and all of these things are important. And so once you've taken a show beyond season 2 and you've proven yourself, essentially, now you start to actually can make money, right? So TV is not lucrative in its first couple of seasons.
I see. So what were you guys? What's an example?
I don't know how much I can share with respect to the contract on there, but it's not exciting.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. Look, for instance, like I can make one YouTube video
and make more.
Yes.
Wow.
On one YouTube video than an entire
TV series?
Yes. It's really interesting how people on the internet, like, we don't give this platform enough credit. Because the fact is, dude, that you're impacting millions of lives doing what you do, right? People are inspired, they watch, and TV is scared of us of the internet. But when you marry the two, which is another thing that I'm really like, I love A&E for this, is that they've broadened their perspective to say, like, we understand we have to lean into the internet. We don't want to divorce from it, right?
Because
a lot of these guys in the TV world, bro, they're like, internet. It's like how movie people look at TV people. Like, movie stars are like, oh, TV.
Right.
And TV are like, oh, internet, right? So it's like this hierarchy that everyone thinks exists. But the fact is, bro, internet thumps all of it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did not know that. Yeah, I kind of had an idea where, like, especially the younger generation is all about the internet.
Yeah.
And, like, how cable is almost obsolete. But then
do you have cable?
I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a streaming YouTube TV.
Can I ask the audience to do something?
Yeah,
if you guys have cable, tell us in the comments. Cable, no cable. I'm just interested. I want to know how many of you young bucks watching SNEWJ have cable.
Yeah. Because how are they going to stay above float?
I think they've got to do what you see happening right now is partner.
Yeah.
So like A&E just did a really cool thing where they partnered with Hulu. And so now they're co-producing, and they're going to go straight to streaming instead of just be completely cable generated and leave it there, right?
Yeah.
So again, one of the beautiful things about the partnership with A&E is that they are so forward thinking. They know that TV and cable itself has to evolve. And so they're ahead of that evolutionary process, knowing that they're going to land on the internet anyways. So they rather than have an adversarial position with the streaming platforms, they're like, how do we get closer together?
Yeah, because people want to watch.
Shout out to A&E for that.
Yeah, people want to watch shows regardless.
Yeah.
TV, movies, shows, regardless. But if they can, like you said, marry the two, that probably solves the problem in the future. Okay. In terms of like somebody out there, if they're starting from ground zero, right, and they want to reach your type of level of success, what are some advice to those people of being hyper successful?
First and foremost, when I first got into real estate again, I wasn't in the best place. I'd lost all that money. Life was hard, and I was not, the coping mechanisms that I was using weren't productive, right? I was drinking a lot, and I was definitely an alcoholic, right? I was depressed. I really didn't know, what my purpose was or where life was leading, but I had some hope. Started reading personal development books. And there was a book by the name of You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero. Really simple book, but in it she says, I don't know what it is, but every rich person I know meditates. She's like, I don't know what the mechanism is behind it. I don't know why it's important. Maybe it's just stress release, but whatever that is, everyone that I know that's successful meditates. So maybe you should try it. I take the advice. What do I have to lose, right? I wake up one morning with a very bad hangover, and I download an app called Headspace.
Okay. And
I begin my journey into meditation. These days I'm meditating an hour at minimum a day.
Wow.
And
every day, huh?
Every single day.
Okay.
Yeah.
For how long?
Like how many years?
Yeah,
now?
how many years?
I'd say probably ongoing 6+ years. Wow. Yeah.
Good for you, man.
I've got thousands of, I got a lot of hours of meditation behind me, right? And so I've made it a non-negotiable for my life. Working out, even though I may not look like it, I work out every day.
You look great.
I mean, I just lost 70 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah, so I've been really trying. I was a lot heavier.
Really?
Yeah, bro.
When was this?
Over the last year.
Wow.
Over the last year.
So you were 70 pounds heavier.
Yeah, last year, like season 2 of my television show, I've got like my chin. I mean, I don't know. We look back at it sometimes and we're like, my goodness, brother, what were you eating? But it was like, I wasn't that I was eating poorly. It was that I was working out wrong. I was doing HIIT every day, high intensity interval training, and it was spiking my cortisol levels. Which this doctor made me. She wanted to see what my blood tests were, right? And so she said, go work out, and as soon as you've done your workout, come and do a blood test. I want to see where your hormones are after a workout. And so we do this, right? She says that my cortisol was so high that she would have determined that I was being murdered at the time of that blood test, because my cortisol, my body was undergoing immense trauma every single day just doing HIIT.
Yeah.
So I took HIIT out of my life and I just replaced it with the elliptical machine.
Gotcha.
And the weight melted.
Yeah, no, for sure.
It was immediate, dude.
Yeah.
We couldn't tell, we had no idea how fast it was going to be, but it's been really fast.
Yeah. It's just more so burn more than what you eat.
Yeah.
So because I noticed that if I don't include cardio at all, then I'm staying the same weight or gaining weight.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah.
So okay.
So meditation is a big deal, right? I think that if you can't visualize what door you want to walk through, you'll never walk through it. And that right there was key for me, because I understood that I was going to create the world I wanted mentally, and I was going to feel how I wanted to feel emotionally, and that was going to help me understand and recognize opportunities that aligned with that. And it works.
Yeah.
It really works, right? You have to take action. I'm not some woo-woo law of attraction kind of guy. I'm just going to dream about it and it's going to happen. It's not that easy.
Yeah, put in this.
You got to put a lot of work in.
Yeah.
You got to take a lot of action, and you're going to make a lot of mistakes, and it's going to be really messy along the way, but it's very rewarding. So meditation is key. I think the second thing is really surround yourself with positive, energized, and high level or high thinking people. You don't need to be around CEOs. You need to be around people who want to be CEOs and are thinking on that level, because truthfully, if you're making $20 an hour right now, there's not a good chance, because I hate this thing. People are like, you are the 5 people you hang out with. Well, it's dude, if I'm working at Taco Bell right now, how the hell you think I'm going to make friends with somebody who's making $10 million a year?
Yeah.
Who's going to let me into their life that's doing that right now? It's not really possible, right?
Yeah.
So that's not the key. The key is look at your circle of people and see what they're talking about. What are they thinking about? What are the goals and the ambitions? And what's a Saturday night? Is a Saturday night going out and getting trashed, or is a Saturday night getting together and thinking about how do we get cash?
Yeah.
How do we figure out how to do things, right?
Yeah.
So surround yourself with people who are thinking in the right direction, that are going in that direction, because you know, again, as you level up, your friends will level up, but it's also cool to hang out with your day ones.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, for instance, Pace and I, we came up together, right? So I love that dude, and I can hang out with him anytime, and I know how rich he is, and I know what he's doing in life, all the things, but we both kind of started at the same spot. So it would have sucked if I had to change my friend circle just because I got more money. That's not cool, you know? But you got to be thinking and being around forward-thinking people. So, you know, first, meditate. Second, be around people that are forward-thinking. Yeah. And I think the third thing that is probably the most difficult thing for people to do is take a step. One step. It's that thing, you know, objects in motion stay in motion, and object at rest stays at rest, right? And so if you are at rest, there is no question that you will remain at rest unless a force acts upon you to change it. Yeah. You have to be that force. You've got to get your ass up and you got to take a step. Yeah. And when you take one step, brother, it's so funny how it works, because everyone's worried about, well, I don't know where I'm going. I don't know the path. I don't know the direction. Nobody does. But when you take the first step, what interestingly enough happens is the next step illuminates. Yes. Just the next. Yes. And it lights up right in front of you, and you're like, oh, okay, boop, there I am. That's very true. And then you take that step, and guess what happens? The next step illuminates, and then all of a sudden you are so much farther than you were when you started, and you realize you're on a path. Yeah. And then you understand, you start to see that, wow, the way that all the roads connect, when you look at life from 30,000 feet, not only are you on a path, but God made it for you. Oh yeah, for sure. You know? And there is nothing that is more fulfilling than knowing that you were collaborating with your creator in your life. Yeah, that is the path. Like they say, the path illuminates as you walk it, right? Yeah. And it's funny that you talk about just taking the step, because I did a video about taking the first step. Yeah. Because I feel like a lot of people get overwhelmed with like the final destination and like, how do I get there? But it's just, like you said, it's just a matter of taking the first step, and an opportunity presents itself at the next step, or you know, the next step after that. So I love that you said that. So like, I think it's a symptom of our life now, right? Is that we all want it quickly. We all want it in like 30-second intervals. The quick dollar. You know, the quick dollar. Tomorrow. Yeah, and it's just not real. Nothing like that exists. Everything is going to be a hustle. Everything requires you to be fiercely dedicated to it. But you knowing that, because you have seen so many people, it would have been crazy for you not to have understood that first step is and so I love that you make that content, because it's like, yeah, okay guys, look here. So I've shown you guys the Holy Grail. You get that, right? But you now, let me trace this back for you guys for a second, because you're on the path yourself. Yeah. You know? And so it's pretty cool, dude. Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, we're all on the path, right? Yeah. Like, what do you say to the people that are? Because I feel like there's also a lot of people that think certain success, or success in general, is just luck, or being wealthy is just luck, and then they kind of discourage themselves, like, oh, I don't know if I can ever be that. Like, they see it on YouTube, they see it on TV, and they just think like, oh, okay, like, yeah, they're rich, they're wealthy. Why do you think there's such a challenge for those people to not feel like they can get to that level? At the end of the day, it kind of pisses me off. Yeah. I feel like everyone has I'm sorry to cut you off. No. I feel like everyone is destined to be something great. Yes. But not a lot of people take action. Yeah. So maybe you can help me understand this and explain to our viewers. I don't know if I've necessarily completely been able to understand it fully, but I have an idea, right? That every person who's successful has 1,000 attempts. They've made 1,000 attempts at doing what they did to get them to that spot, and they failed 980 times, right? And we see the results of the 20 wins. That's it. You're seeing the results of the 20 wins, and it's this magical. It's an oceanfront home. It's beautiful friendships. It's a Rolls Royce. It's all the things, right? It's a mansion, whatever you want. But knowing that there's 980 fails to make these 20 wins that make this beautiful life, it's a lot easier in your mind to say, Well, he probably just did something one time and got lucky.
Yeah, like overnight success.
Overnight
when
success,
that wasn't
right?
the case at
it's
all.
It's never the case.
Yeah.
No person other than a lottery winner gets that. And if you look at the statistics for lottery winners, 70% of them go broke anyways, right? Because the fact is that they didn't earn it to get there, so they don't know how to keep it.
They don't know how to manage their money.
They don't.
Yeah.
They didn't earn it getting there. They won it. That's luck, right? But entrepreneurial success, people who really make it and get out there and create something consistent and sustainable, those people fail daily. And they just get up and they do it again. They get up and they do it again. They get up and they do it again. And so anyone out there who's thinking that it's all luck, right? You're discounting and you're failing to recognize all of the failure that is required to attain this end result that you see.
Yeah.
And that is the same for every single person of luck or of high status that you see that's done something well in their life, business success.
Yeah.
Every single person has this as a story. So knowing that you're going to fail 980 times and you're going to only win 20 times, my suggestion is this: get to failing. Like, get to it. Get out there and start f***ing up. Make some mistakes. The more mistakes you make and the more resilient you are, you will get there. Every single person has within them a higher version, like a person who has been through it. The hero in all of us lives. You either are going to walk into that person or that person is going to end up dying.
Yeah.
You know, and it's on you. You want to have the best life. You got to start taking those shots, man. And if you're okay with average, if that's okay for you, and I'm not going to judge it. I don't have anything against, or I have no problem with people who just say, you know, I'm going to get immense fulfillment from doing this thing. Cool, right? It's like we're all entitled to our experience here. I decided that I really wanted mine to be epic. You decided that you wanted yours to be epic. Bobby, on the other hand, mediocre at best. He's writing his resignation right now. Like, you son of a bitch! I hate you. It's the 30th time that you've made fun of me. I love you, Bobby.
Thank you so much. That was amazing. Where can people find you? Instagram?
Yeah.
Any other social media platforms?
I'm on YouTube. If what I do is interesting to you, come out, check out my YouTube channel. It's just my name, Jamil Damji. YouTube.com/Jamil Damji. I'm on IG at JDAMJI. Give me a follow. Come learn about my world. I don't care if you're a real estate investor or don't want to be a real estate investor. I talk about all kinds of things. I share a lot. Sometimes I overshare, but I'm just me. Yeah. Right. I'm a true human being with lots of flaws and a couple of cool things about me that have worked.
You tell me I'm something you need. Baby, you know that I'm bad for you, yeah. Why you gotta be so naive? If I treat you like one I don't want, then you know I'm just so hard to please. I lie to your face.